The following is paid programming.
It's time to talk taxes.
New friends, new opportunities, new partners. EG Tax.
It's Ask the Tax Lady with Esther Gulius and EG Tax on News Radio 930 WBEN. To reach Esther now, call 803-0930. Toll free at 1-800-616-9236. And cell calls are free at star 930. And now, live from the WBEN studios, it's Esther Gulius.
Hey, well, Esther is what? Can you hear me, Jay? I mean, Frank? Okay, Esther's at Witchy Wacky in Florida right now. And so you've got Chris Fabian and Tiffany Fabian, and Esther's out there with the mermaids and having a good time. She sent me a picture. She said she's wanted to go there since the age of 16. So finally, she made her way to Florida to see the mermaids underwater.
In Wiki Watchy.
Wiki Watchy. And we're here today with Denis Kitchen. He is a lawyer. He's part of our summer series, and very excited and happy to have him here. So if you have any questions, you can call in. And Chris, you want to give all the litany of numbers?
803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on your cell phone. Without you guys calling in, we don't really have a show. No one wants to hear us talk for an hour straight.
And I also want to mention, before we say hi to Denis, don't forget, if you want to register for our Financial Buzz seminar, it's October 13th, and one of our guests will be Denis, and we'll also have Esther as a guest speaker. We'll have Mike Hayfleck. We'll have Jeff Boron. We'll have Tim Eliason talking about healthcare. I should say Jeff Boron is going to talk about college planning, and Mike Hayfleck is going to talk about Social Security. And who else are we going to have? We're going to have Judy Jack Lewis talk about real estate, and Jeff Katz.
Russ Gullo doing exchanges.
Right. So if you're interested, just go to our website at egtax.com and you can register, or you could always call 632-7886 and register that way. And Denis, we're so glad that you're going to be a guest at October 13th, and glad that you're here with us today.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Yep. And, last week when Esther was here, we were talking, and the new tax law and different things we're finding out each week. And there's a couple more things we wanted to share with you before we get into going into bankruptcy and divorce law and all that with Denis. A couple of the new changes is that small businesses, you hear us talking about the 20% pass-through and how good that's going to be. Well, there's a lot of little intricacies involved in that. And right now, if you're a small business owner, whether self-employed, an S-Corp, an LLC, you really want to sit down with your tax person and do some tax planning, because one simple little "I didn't know that" could cost you thousands and thousands of dollars on your tax return. Just how the new law is written. If your income's too high by $1, you could lose that 20%.
Yep. And another one we're peeling back the layers of the onion. Another thing is, if you have a loan outstanding with your retirement account at your employer, and then you become separated from your employment under the new tax reform, you have until the due date of that return plus extension to pay back the funds from that loan when you become separated from your employer. So that's good news.
Yep, because you used to have 60 days.
Right.
So those people who have done this, you get that lovely 1099 at the end of the year, code 1, and you got to pay your 10% penalty on the loan you never got to pay back because you lost your job.
Yep. And then, I'm sorry, Chris.
I was going to say, now the government's giving you, so say you lose your job in February of 2018 and you had that loan outstanding. You actually have until that due date of the return, which isn't until April 15th of 2019, but if you file an extension, it pushes it back to October 15th of 2019 to pay back that loan before you have to pay tax and a penalty. So that could give someone, an extra year to pay that back. And that's a big, because hopefully by then you have a job and you can now pay it back. That the government wants to see your money in your retirement account. They don't want to see you use it.
Right. And then also now new law is kiddie tax is now going to be taxed at the fiduciary tax rate instead of the parents' tax rate. So that's huge. So if you have accounts that are in the kids' names, you might want to get them out of the kid name because they're going to be taxed at a higher rate than what was before. So under tax reform, it goes to the fiduciary rate versus the parents' tax rate.
Yeah, tax planning now more than ever for anybody out there is a very smart thing. They said, they simplified tax law. Not really.
No.
No, just talking to, some of the people, our software provider, our, people we call for research, the IRS, it isn't simpler.
No.
They put in a lot more twists and bends and curves, and you got to pay attention or you're going to get caught and you're going to end up costing yourself money.
And then another change I'll have Dennis talk about is the change in alimony. And so, Dennis, can you speak on that?
Yes, the alimony rules have changed up until now, and for many years. Alimony was deductible by the person paying the alimony and taxable to the person receiving the alimony. And when I say alimony, that's not the term used in New York now. Now we call it maintenance. But it's essentially for the support of a spouse or an ex-spouse, as contrasted with child support. Child support was never deductible by the payor and was never taxable to the payee. Well, now they've wiped out that difference and they said, whatever it is, there isn't going to be any tax relief for the person paying it. There isn't going to be tax for the person receiving it. So it doesn't make any difference.
But really, the thing is that the person who's paying tax on it is the person, right, Chris, who is usually in the higher.
Yeah, the government, what they did was...
They were wise.
Yeah, they were very wise. Like I said, could cost you a lot of money with these tax changes. They're going after the people who make money. So the person who pays alimony is the higher income earner.
Right.
And, sometimes it may only be $5,000 a year in alimony, which isn't much. But I've seen people pay $150,000 a year. Yeah. And that's a big deduction for somebody.
So somebody would want to get their divorce finalized in 2018 if they wanted to consider still deducting the maintenance.
Yep.
Yes, because it's not effective until the end of 18.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, now, there is some comfort to those who have been paying maintenance or alimony, as it were, because the tax rules for them don't change. This is their grandfathered in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So even if someone, say, Denis, me and my well, I won't pick on me and my wife, but you have a couple out there who got a divorce, and the husband's paying her $3,000 a month in alimony, and she goes, "I want more."
Yeah. And
so he gets stuck paying now $4,000 a month.
Right.
But because that divorce was final before 2019, it doesn't matter. He can still deduct that. So it may be, this is where the bargaining chip, going right before, now the man had a bargaining chip to say, hey, I'll pay you more in this and less in child support.
Right.
Now it may just be the bargaining
chip. Doesn't make any difference.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
So if you have questions for us, EG Tax, we're here to help you here today till 4 o'clock, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on your cell phone. Give us a call. We're going to take a short break, and we'll look forward to talking to you a little bit. Back. EG Tax, we're here to help you with your tax questions, your tax planning, whatever it may be. We want to help you. 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on your cell phone. And, Tiff, you brought up during the break, healthcare.
Right.
A lot of people think the healthcare has changed, and you don't need health insurance because you're not going to get hit with the penalty this year, right?
That's what a lot of people think.
Is that right?
No. Unfortunately, not until 2019.
Right. 2019. You have, in 2018 you have to have health insurance,
Right.
Because otherwise you get hit with the penalty. What President Trump signed into action was for 2019 and going forward, where there is no penalty for not having health insurance.
So at the corporate office, we have right now 2 healthcare navigators that are there who can help you for no charge navigate the marketplace to help you get insurance. And then a lot of people qualify for Medicaid too. And so, Tim always says it's not the same Medicaid that your parents used to know. So it's really a good, viable option if you need health insurance to sit down and talk to Tim or Karen at our office. They can help you navigate the marketplace and get you health insurance for 2018 if you need it.
Right. And so now let's go back to Dennis.
Yes.
Yes, he's going, okay.
Oh.
And so, okay, with, I'm sure, we talked about divorces and all that, but a lot of problem is the financial aspect of everything. People are, I'm sure people are still financially more so, maybe you can answer that more so now than ever with credit card debt.
Well, everybody's, of course, rejoicing because the economy is improving, which overall, of course, it is. But for the individual, we might have an individual who says, hey, the economy might be improving for everybody else, but not for me. They have suffered something like an illness, a loss of a job, a divorce, an accident, something like that took away their income. And as a result, we used to have savings accounts to take care of this sort of thing. But the safety net now for a lot of people financially is the credit card. And so they figure, well, I will keep living on the credit card and I will pay it back once I get back to work. And that doesn't work, or it takes too long, and before they know it, they're under debt of $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on a credit card and that sort of thing. And they say, gee, what can I do? Because now the credit card company says, well, that's going to cost you 25, 30%, and that's what you're going to have to pay. That's when a person really should sit down with an attorney about the possibility of bankruptcy. Well, I don't like bankruptcy, some people say.
That nasty B word.
That's right, the nasty B word and that sort of thing. But you have to look at it realistically. Are you going to be able to dig your way out of that hole? And maybe you can, but you need to talk with somebody about that possibility. You also may not think that you qualify for bankruptcy. That's why you need to talk with an attorney. See if your situation is ripe for a proper bankruptcy.
Esther always says, it's like you're lumping along and you got this dead body and you keep lunking it along and plunking it along. And bankruptcy is a really good, viable option. I mean, we live in a country where there's no debtor's prison, and these are options that are available to you. And so really, it's a fresh start, and you should really weigh out all the different options,
That's right. And a fresh start is a phrase, by the way, that even in the bankruptcy court, I've heard it out of the mouth of the bankruptcy judge who says, look, this is what we're trying to give people, a fresh start.
Right.
And, our opinion is that most people who do file bankruptcy, who are afraid at first to file it because of their credit. We always, but my credit's going to be bad if I file bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. How many of them would you say already have bad credit?
That frequently occurs. I've run into a few people where they are pinching the penny till it's screaming, and paying their creditors, and they're keeping up with them. But they're down to spending $20 a week on groceries, and they can't survive. They say, what am I going to do to get relief out of this thing? And won't this hurt my credit score or something like this? At some point, you got to decide, look, I've got to live, and I can't be run simply by somebody's credit score. Yeah.
Right. That's really true. And so it's really a good option. And it's something, I know you've helped several of my clients, and it's like you make a difference and you can breathe a little bit and a sigh of relief, And so do you lose everything when you do a bankruptcy?
No, there's a whole list of exemptions. In fact, there's 2 lists of exemptions, one by the federal government and one from the New York State, and you can pick either one depending on what best suits your situation. You get to keep your house, depending on how much it is worth and how much equity there is in it. You get to keep a car, again, depending on how much the value or the equity is in it. You get to keep your furniture. You get to keep your clothes. You get to keep a number of other things, and still be able to get out from under the unsecured debt of a credit card.
And what is the counseling like? People always say, I don't want to go to the counseling that's required now.
Well, you can do the counseling face-to-face, but virtually everybody that I have does it online.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's pretty painless.
Yes, you just go screen to screen and you read what they say, you answer a few questions, and it takes maybe about an hour or something like that.
Right. Not so difficult, which is really important.
I mean, you would think, I understand the purpose of counseling and getting everybody, look at this is bad, this is good, You would think it would be more than an hour. I mean, if these people were... I'm just thinking, you hear all these programs and you hear the Dave Ramsey method of paying, you know what I mean? But where his is a multi-week, right. You would think someone who's going to bankruptcy would have to spend a little bit more time than an hour.
Well, I think they, when they passed that part of the law, they didn't really want to make this a barrier to going bankrupt. They just wanted to give people some education about finances, so that this wasn't a pattern that they were going to be repeating bankruptcy declared.
It almost just sounds like the driving school when you get a speeding ticket.
Well, maybe it is, but there's a lot of people who do need it.
Yeah. Yep. And then I think after 10 years, the bankruptcy falls off of your credit report, right?
That's right. It's usually on your report for 10 years.
Okay. But then slowly you can start getting credit cards again just to establish credit, and the hope is that you don't fall into the same situation again, and so you're building up your credit slowly, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and I think it's a really great viable option, and so something people need to consider. And then also, Denis, your phone number at the office is 716-631-5661, and you do bankruptcies, you do estate planning, you do real estate, any other type of law that I might be missing.
Well, real estate, of course, and a variety of things. Some litigation, certainly, and personal injury. I have a number of cases there, so I'd be happy to talk with anybody about their legal issues.
And your website is kitchenlaw.com.
That's right, kitchenlaw.com.
Just like the room in the house.
That's right.
He just doesn't cook for you.
Just like the room in the house.
That would be Nancy, right?
That's right, yes.
And happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. I think tomorrow's supposed to be a great day, and it's just a great day to be with your family and enjoy time with them. And so happy Father's Day to everybody out there.
Yep. And 803-0930, 803-0930. We'll take your calls. Star 930 on your cell phone. We have free advice here for you. If you ever wanted to ask a lawyer, now's your time. Give us a call. So going back to bankruptcy. So there's still the Chapter 7 and 13.
Yes, yes. These are the two types of bankruptcy. Now, the only limitation on this for the past number of years, there's been a requirement that depending on your income situation, you may have to do a Chapter 13 rather than a 7. Now, what's the difference? A Chapter 7, you basically get to walk away from most of your unsecured debts in one fell swoop. But in the Chapter 13, you're paying back a portion of your debt over a period of time. It could be as little as 5 or 10% of what you owe, or it could be 100% depending on the situation. But that's the Chapter 13. And depending on what your income is, you might have to do the Chapter 13.
And then you hear all the time that you can't wrap student loans into your bankruptcy. Is that true?
Well, you can handle them in a Chapter 13, but the problem is you do not get a discharge. That is, you don't get forgiven your student loans in most cases. There are some exceptions to that in case of a hardship. Let's say a person who goes on disability, for example. Very often that's a hardship that will allow them to get out of the student loan. But other than that, you pretty much are stuck with the student loan.
Right.
But sometimes people are really underwater with not only a student loan but their credit card debt. And if they can get rid of the credit card debt, they can make a decent agreement to pay off their student loan.
Yep. I know that's part of the thing, even with offers and compromises. Part of the reason taxpayers do offers and compromises, Dennis, is because the interest keeps growing and growing and growing and snowballing and snowballing and snowballing. So if they can do an offer and compromise that cuts off and remedies the situation, if you will, because that interest and penalty just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. And so you want to remedy that situation, you know? And then also before the show, we talked about estate planning. That's always something really important. And I think you said you just went to a seminar not so long ago, and the 5-year look back is really important. I know that there's a lot of folks that call us all the time, and estate planning is really key in getting your affairs in order. I just talked to a client the other day, and her father, Chris, talks about this all the time, didn't put a beneficiary on his IRAs or his muni bonds. And so that meant that it had to go through the estate. And so what can you say about that, Chris?
Oh, Denis just did it when he sighed.
Right.
I mean, no beneficiaries, and then the estate gets the income and they pay the tax, which starting at $7,500 is like 35%.
Right.
So, you know, the best advice we tell people all the time is get beneficiaries on anything you can. Don't, you know, and update it. Oh, I have it. It's only 30 years ago that I put my son. Well, my son passed away, and now he's divorced. He was divorced, and I don't, you know, you got to keep things updated, right?
That's right, and estate planning is more than just writing a will. It's also looking at the other devices that take care of your property when you die. And many of these things, there are pay-on-death provisions that you can add to your savings accounts, your bank accounts, and of course there's life insurance, and of course now there's for almost any type of account, there's a pay-on-death provision that should be kept current.
Okay, well, we are got to take a break for the news, and when we get back, we'll talk more about estate planning and bankruptcy with Denis Kitchen. That's what the IRS does. They get the best of us. You know, that's what they try to do. You know, I'm Chris Fabian, Tiffany Fabian in studio. We're from EG Tax. We want to help you. 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on your cell phone. And, you know, getting the best of us. That's what we're seeing with letters, Tiff?
Yeah.
I think,
don't just pay it.
Oh, I mean, how many letters this week where people came in and said, I got this bill from the IRS and I didn't think I owed them money. And we look into it, and they did the amended return back in February, April, March, and the IRS hasn't finished processing them yet. But they're mailing out the bills that people don't owe.
Right.
And it's, you know, and if you pay them, you know, you're going to now wait another 16 weeks to get that money back.
That's exactly right.
So if you're getting a bill from the IRS, New York State, do not just pay it. I know Maria had someone the other day come in. They paid a $60,000 bill.
Oh my God!
And all they owed, I'm saying that very tongue-in-cheek, was $20,000.
Oh my God! But it's going to be so hard to get back the
$40,000.
Oh my God!
Oh dear.
I mean, but luckily he came in.
Good.
Because the IRS wouldn't have said, oh, gee, I'm so sorry, taxpayer. You overpaid us. We made a mistake. Here's $40,000. Yeah, no, it's up to you to fight it and say, wait, I want my money back. You were wrong.
Right.
So don't just pay the IRS, because if you do that, New York State a year later is going to say, oh, guess what? We see a change. Now you owe us money, and that would be extra money.
Yeah.
So there's a snowball effect out there, and I know it's summertime and we don't want to hear that S word, but when it comes to taxes, there's a lot of snowball affecting, and just paying them off just to get rid of them isn't a good thing. So, if you get letters, give us a call at the office, 632-7886. Here in studio, 803-0930. We do have Denis Kitchen, attorney at law. And, we're talking bankruptcy. We're talking estate planning. We're talking,
Denis, would you say real estate market is still pretty good right now, doing a lot of real estate closings?
And a seller's market at that.
Right.
Just as an example, my neighbor listed his house for $285,000,
right.
And it sold for $300,000.
Yeah. It's just crazy. Even commercial markets are hard. I know we've got one of our clients, and they're looking for a new commercial spot, and they're having a hard time finding commercial property.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Does it take longer to close residential versus commercial?
It depends. Obviously, when somebody has cash to pay for something, it's going to be faster.
Right.
But I think normally commercial can take a little longer sometimes because there's a little more.
I just think it's funny, speaking of closing, where up here, what's the average? About 2 months?
Yeah, about 2 months. 2 months can usually
down
be done.
in Florida, it's about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it just shows you the different politics. I mean, hate to say that word, but it is. I mean, everybody's hand is in the cookie jar.
Well, part of it is how we do titles here. Here we do a search of titles, and then we issue a report, and then it goes to the title insurance, and then they look at it and stuff like that. In other states, it goes right to title insurance. They do the examination within a couple of days, and they can get a report out and get it done. But that's
okay. Well, let's go to Tom from Buffalo. Hey, Tom, how can we help you?
Yeah, hi guys. I got a situation where I could really use some advice. I guess I'm not entirely on topic, but it does have to do with taxing too. I fathered a child late in my life, and I happen to be a pensioner, and I understand I'm going to be able to get Social Security for my child. And as a pensioner, and I'm wondering, I want to start a trust fund for him, so I might be gone, but he'll be able to go to college or at least have a start in his life. How would you do that? What would you suggest? What type of financial instrument would you suggest?
529, Chris?
Well, there's the 529, like Tiff said, for
college.
For college planning. And then, the trust, Denis, have you done a lot of work with trusts?
Not a lot, but a certain amount. Yes, now you can set up a trust, and name a trustee, somebody who's an adult who would handle the funds, and you could fund that trust, and it would provide support, or it could be limited to educational.
He would set
purposes.
the guideline. Tom,
Yeah.
you would set the guideline saying, this is for my son Bob. Bob can't touch the money unless it's used for education. If he doesn't go to college, then he has to wait to age 30.
Right.
You can set any criteria in there in a trust.
Yeah.
And what did Tom mean by his child can get Social Security?
Because he's older.
He's okay, gotcha. Tom, you started to say something else. I apologize.
No, I just got so many thoughts going through my head. So I should get this trust fund started through a bank, through an attorney, or how would you, what's the mechanics?
Well, if you do something like the 529, that's rather simplified, and you
do that right through a bank.
That's right, and you could do that right through a bank. If you want something a little more elaborate with some additional conditions and that sort of thing and limitations on it, then you might want to sit down with an attorney and actually have a trust made.
Well, more specifically also, I don't think you're going to get too much out of a checking/savings money market account. So would you put this in some low-risk securities?
Well, even I was thinking, even if you have IRAs or municipal funds or things like that, you'd want to put your son or your daughter as your beneficiary. Wouldn't you say that, Chris? And that way, whatever is yours will be his or hers upon your passing.
Right. But, yeah, I mean, that's going to be up to you. That's where it's your money, and how you want to invest it. And that's where your financial person, sitting down with the financial person, figuring out what your goals are with that money. Should you put some in a high risk? Should you put in a medium risk or a low risk? How should you percentage it out? That's going to be you sitting down with the financial person and doing that. But don't forget this.
Bank investor, or would you go through a stock, an exchange company, or what?
Well, I would interview a couple different people. Sit down with, you could sit down with Mike and Glenn from the financial guys. You could sit down with where you do bank. All banks have investment people. Go to a different sit down with at least 3 different people. See who you feel comfortable with and who's going to spend the time and answer your questions.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
And then don't forget about claiming your child this year for tax year law 2018. If you get to claim your child, you'll get $2,000 per child, which is really exciting, versus the $1,000, and the income threshold is much higher than it's ever been before. So don't forget about claiming your child. I don't know if you guys alternate or if you're a married person, but don't forget about claiming your child this year. The child tax credit is much more expanded.
Also, Tom, his Social Security does not go on your return. Okay, so you can bring it to your tax guy. You don't have to, because the only time they'll ever need it is when your son or daughter has other income, like when they're working okay.
And then I also want to say that I really like your thoughts. I like that you're thinking about your child and thinking about his future and how you can help plan for it. I think that's amazing.
Well, yeah, I mean, my parents took care of me, and it's upon me to do such for my child. But it's, being this late, it was sort of unexpected. I'm a little overwhelmed by it. But so what I'm trying to say is, okay, so now the first question, the money that comes from my Social Security as a pensioner, that'll be part of my adjustable savings.
The up to 80, you were cutting in and out of there, but I think I know your question. Up to 85% of your Social Security may be taxable. So it depends on all your other income, your filing status. And, if you want to give us a call during the week at our office, we can go through your numbers and get you properly planned and have your withholding so there's no surprises.
A lot of people who collect Social Security, it really affects their other taxable income, so they have to change their withholdings, and so you really want to make sure you plan. Of course, your child's Social Security is not something that goes on your tax return. So.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's what I was wondering about. Well, in the form I want is the 529, I-25, 529.
529, 529.
529 is the New York State College Plan.
And you'll get a little bit of a credit on the state of New York for doing that. And of course, you get to save for your child's education, which is really exciting. And there's new law. You can use it, Chris, not just for college, right?
Right. For the federal, as of right now, you can use it and pay for private grade school and high school as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Nothing for a home if the child.
No, the 529 would have to be used for education. If it's not, then it's all taxable on New York State. On the federal, the growth would be taxable.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for all that information.
Not a problem. And if you need
congratulations,
help, congratulations on your baby. And give us a call anytime during the week if you need any more help.
It's really helping on Father's Day, I'll tell you that.
Happy Father's Day.
Yep, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, and let's go to Sharon. Hey, Sharon, how can we help you?
Just a quick question on disability in New York State. I'm going to be going out on disability, so of course I get the one from New York State where I contribute the 60 cents a pay period. But I also have a short-term disability policy through my employer that I pay everything myself with after-tax money. And from reading everything, I just wanted to confirm that money will be tax-free from the short-term policy. Is that correct?
As long as they're taking it out of your paycheck with after-tax dollars, then correct, that it will be tax-free because you already pay tax on the principal. So then anything else will be tax-free.
Whereas the other disability, it sounds like it is going to be taxable. And then I wonder, would she be a candidate, Chris, do you think, for the new Family Leave Act?
Yep.
Yeah, so you want to tell Sharon about that?
Yeah, so Sharon, there's also the new Family Leave Act, which is also a part of, like New York State, but it's a federal program, okay? And that's something new that was coming out of your paycheck as well. So you want to check with your employer on where you would contact for that as well.
And if you have questions or if you need our help throughout the week, just call 632-7886, and we would be delighted to help you.
Okay. And one other question. In New York State, is it true that you can't get, between all your disabilities that you're entitled to, more than 60% of your gross?
That I've never heard of that. I can do, if you call us on Monday, we will do some research and we'll get you the answer.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, like we don't know everything. I'm one of the first ones to say we don't know everything, but we know how to look things up, and that's what we're going to do for Sharon.
And then it decipher the law.
Yeah. So EG Tax, we're here for you, 803-0930, 803-0930. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back on the other side. I thought you were going to play like the mermaid song on behalf of Esther because she's in WikiWatcha. In heaven, where someplace she's always wanted to be since she was 16, so 10 years ago.
Right.
She'd love me for that one. But yep, this is Chris Fabian and Tiffany Fabian from EG Tax. Denis Kitchen is in studio with us with your any legal questions you have, bankruptcy, estate planning,
tax questions,
real estate. We're here to help you at 803-0930. And I know we do have John on the phone. But Denis, let's going back to bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is it how long of a process? Does it take?
Figure about a 3-month process before you finally get your discharge and get it and they close the case or something like this. That's about how long it probably takes. Some people we take longer because there's some timing in terms of when we actually want to file.
And I know we do offer in compromises, like Tiff said. I'm sure it's the same thing. You need the set of financials, and there's guidelines whether you can qualify or not qualify.
That's
correct?
right. That's right. It depends upon income. It depends upon whether the bankruptcy is going to do you any good, whether you're going to be able to get a discharge from the debts that you want. If it's just like a single debt, it may be better to try and compromise the debt. That's why we need to look at the whole situation and come to a decision as to what's the best course of action.
Now, will they look like if you have assets? I know that's a bad thing for bankruptcy.
Well, it depends on the assets.
Yeah, but say you have your house, and it's worth $250,000, but you only owe $100,000 on it. So you have $150,000 equity out there.
You get to keep your house,
right? But what if
that's if you own as a couple, because you get $75,000 per person. So,
but if would they ever say, well, you can get a home equity loan and pay off your credit cards and then da?
Well, of course, the simple fact is you may not be able to get a home equity loan.
That's what I'm trying to.
But that's not the measure of things. The fact is that if you have the right, you have a right to file bankruptcy. And if the parameters meet the qualifications and that sort of thing, then you're going to be able to get out of your debts. That's what it amounts to.
Okay. Let's go to John from Elma. Hey, John.
Hello. I have a tax question.
Sure.
It's about my son. My son was in the military for over 20 years. He was stationed in Georgia for a period of time. He bought a home while stationed in Georgia during the period where real estate values were really high. He lived in the home several years. He was transferred to New Jersey. When it came to a point where he wanted to sell the house, the real estate market had gone significantly down, and he had a huge mortgage payment, or a huge mortgage left, and he couldn't get but half of what the mortgage originally was. So what he decided to do was to rent it out until possibly the market would pick up and he would be able to sell it and break even. That never happened. He separated from the military and went to work or started to live in Michigan, where he bought another house. So now he has a primary residence in Michigan. He had this house that he was renting out in Georgia. For the last 3 years, he was really struggling to make payments on both houses. He went to a lawyer. The lawyer advised him to go to the bank and try to do a short sale, which they agreed to do. He did the short sale, and the bank was willing to take for the home to what his mortgage was a significant amount, and they, absolved him of that. Now on tax season, he goes to file taxes.
Yep.
And he's told that he owes $2,000 because of this.
Because of the rental property.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Because of the capital gains, right?
Yep. Because what happened, he's on for tax purposes, it's called a sale of the house, even though he sold it short and he sold it for under. But when you rent a house, you have depreciation every year, and that depreciation eats up your basis. So while he was renting it, his value of the house was going down on his tax return, and then when he sold it, he actually, quote unquote, made money, even though he didn't make money.
Yeah.
He also had the forgiveness of
the debt,
the difference between the short sale and the actual amount he owed on the loan.
What I would suggest, John, is if you can get a hold of his tax forms and bring them in, we can take a look. Have somebody else in Michigan, if he did it in Michigan, have somebody else in Michigan take a look at them, because they may not have been done right.
When did he move for his job, John?
He moved, I think, in 2017.
Because I was wondering if he did a moving credit. There's a moving credit for moving for a job. It's an adjustment to income on page 1 of the 1040. So I was wondering if he did that. And then I was also wondering, to close on the house in Georgia, he might have had to drive back. And so you could deduct mileage on the Schedule E. And so all of this tying into what Chris says is that really you should get a copy of the return to us so we can make sure it was done right.
There were several instances where there was significant damage done to the while it was being rented.
Right.
And it cost him, I know one time it cost him like $5,000 to do the repairs. Otherwise, he couldn't actually get insurance on the home unless the repairs were done.
Yeah, we would have to look at the tax return, the depreciation schedule, and everything to see if there's something we could do.
Yeah, because $2,000 is a lot of money, and so you want to make sure. And then also that ties into the fact that in 2018, the moving adjustment to income is gone. So if that was something he was entitled to for 17, he's fortunate, because for new law, it's no longer an animal.
Yeah.
But, if you could get us a return, that would be great.
If he never took a credit for the move when he did, could he actually get the credit?
Yep, we could do an amended return and apply the moving credit.
And then some of the expenses for some of the repairs, because I just want to make sure he did that. And then, like Chris said, the depreciation, making sure that the depreciation was done correctly.
Okay.
Give us a call during the week, okay? 632-7886.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Happy Father's Day.
Dennis, that's a really good idea. We talked about bankruptcy. It sounded like this person might have been over their head, so a short sale was a good thing.
Yes, it would be. And of course, with bankruptcy, he wouldn't have to worry about the paying tax on the forgiveness.
Right,
either, so.
right, yeah.
And we're going to go to Ron in Buffalo. Hey, Ron.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I own income property on the east side of Buffalo, and I haven't done my 17. I haven't come in and done my 17 taxes yet, but I have zero. I'm claiming zero as income. Like I said, I live over on the east side. I live in the lower apartment, and it's harder and harder to find qualified tenants. And I've owned the property about 30 years, and its income is steadily going down. And this year, 17, it was zero. What can I do? Planning ahead to go ahead. The apartment is nice and clean. It's painted, and I do have a rental application that I got from Housing Opportunities Made Equal, and I'm a real stickler with that, and I just don't want to rent for the sake of renting.
So the first thing, in order to take rental expenses, you have to actively be trying to rent the apartment. And so you'd have to have something in the newspaper or something on Craigslist. You have to actively be trying to rent the apartment before you can take the expenses, the property taxes and the mortgage interest. And so I hear what you're saying, and I can commiserate with you. It sounds like you don't want to rent it to just anybody. You want to do your due diligence. Are you interpreting the same thing, Chris?
Yeah, but you got to watch it, because if you're doing too much due diligence, the IRS isn't going to let you take any of the expenses anyways, even if you do have the ad in the paper, because they're going to say, well, if someone offered you $500 a month and you turned them down because they had 2 kids instead of 1 kid, and you keep turning down money, they're going to say, well, then you're not a business.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess.
You gotta be careful when it comes to rental property.
Right. I mean, you really want to be careful. And the thing is, with under the new tax reform, you can't, if you turn it into a personal house, you can only take taxes on your primary residence. So we've been trying to tell people that rentals are very attractive. So before you shut this door, make sure you give us a call, Ron?
Okay. All right, I will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question.
Thank you, Ron.
Much appreciate it.
Not a problem. Well, I'm Chris Fabian from EG Tax. Tiffany Fabian here. It looks like we have another hour in the books here at WBEN. Another gorgeous weekend here in Buffalo. Can you believe we're saying that?
Yeah.
But we're here to help you. 632-7886 during the week. Go to our website, egtax.com.
And Dennis's phone number is 631-5661.
Right, and ask the tax lady. You'll get all your questions answered during the week. Until next Saturday, Esther will be here with Mike Lomas talking about your financial needs. EG Tax, have a good week. Happy Father's Day.